From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big evening of Evenings LALATE with incredible news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. In tonight's recording, we go over that big recon that passed the House. But today on Mornings LALATE, I delivered to you the breaking news as that it would not pass, not only not in Christmas, but until they make some modifications, because Joe Manchin had a few words to say today. I'll go over what I retailed this morning on Mornings LALATE and afternoons, but tonight, new developing details. As the only thing I got wrong today was I said on Monday we'll hear the backlash from Joe Manchin's comments. Well, we didn't have to wait till Monday. It came in instantly. The White House press secretary going after Joe Manchin and basically saying he has been untruthful with the White House all this week, all this year. Oh boy, I have all the latest details of what Joe Manchin has said, what he hasn't said, and also what the president has done with numbers in this recon, not particularly good for the president as well. I'll analyze it across the board in this jaw-dropping special report tonight. We'll be turning over to third stimulus for just a blink of an eye, because that's where this channel is going back on Monday. And we're going back into these incredible provisions in this fourth stimulus recon. We'll be turning to student loan debt forgiveness for just a blink of an eye, and fifth stimulus for your COLA raise, still on point for this channel on Monday. But as we go into a big night tonight, I need to go over everything and flush out everything that's happened with Joe Manchin. This morning, I went over the breaking news as Joe Manchin made that statement and the reaction from Bernie Sanders. At the time, we did not have the reaction from the press secretary. Oh boy, it just came in. We had the reaction from other Democrats. It says this is not what's been happening. He's telling you a different narrative. Oh boy. Then I have new details tonight about what the White House tried to do and did not get away with it. I'll go over what's going on and how we're going to have this recon become a law in the next few weeks. All these incredible details is because this is what you wanted it to happen. You wanted this to happen with a definitive statement from Joe Manchin and a definitive calling of the vote. Hashtag Chuck Call the Vote. It's a big night. It's a big, exciting night. And I have all the incredible details of this nail biter. And it starts right now as Evenings LALATE gets underway from Santa Monica, California. Hey, good evening, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful evening. How are you? I hope the weather is good where you are. Well, that recon passed in the House and was supposed to be passed in the Senate next week, but it did not. So when will it pass? I'll go over all the details of the Senate changes that are going to have to be made to this recon to get it over the finish line. We'll go over the provisions that are in this recon briefly, but turning to third stimulus also briefly across the board. Third stimulus is $5,000 being paid out to viewers this week, last week, and next week as well. Holiday stimulus, Christmas stimulus, how you get this money, I'm going to go over it shortly. Student loan debt forgiveness, the latest details on that, plus we go over to fifth stimulus, your COLA raise and your SNAP benefits, and in its impact across the board. All those details, plus everything you need to know about what happened this morning, what happened at noontime, and what's happening tomorrow with Joe Manchin. All those incredible dramatics, and they all start right here. But first, I want you part of this incredible family. So go under this video right now and subscribe. I want you part of this channel right now. The number one most watched geopolitical channel in the nation. We cover the details better, more in depth, and more accurately than anyone else. Subscribe to LALATE, the number 3 most watched financial news channel overall in the United States. Become a member of this channel so you get incredible newsletter. It comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and sign up for the LALATE alerts, which are totally free as well. Meantime, if you've not heard about it, this channel has now extended its evenings programming schedule with Evenings LALATE direct and new every night at 5 o'clock. Evenings Countdown at 6 o'clock. Holiday Stream Stimulus at 7. And then we go into the new hit show on this channel, Evenings Extra every night at 8 o'clock opposite Calcino. And with that, let's go over all the dramatics that are unfolding right now. And we'll start with the new details tonight that you did not even know about no less than 2 hours ago. What happened in the last 2 hours? Well, Press secretary went after Joe Manchin. I said she was going to go after him on Monday. She didn't wait a second. And in fact, she didn't go sort of vaguely after him. She brought receipts, if you were talking reality TV language, like a reunion. She brought receipts and said, you're just disingenuous all across the board. Let's go over what's going on here, because there's a lot of stuff going on here. The fourth stimulus recon has to pass the Senate with all Democratic senators' votes. It already passed the House. It's in the Senate. It's been sitting there. And to get those votes, there's been negotiations since May. And in May, Joe Manchin told the White House that if you separated the recon from the bipartisan infrastructure, he'll vote in favor of the recon. So they did. And they separated them. At the time, Joe Manchin also wrote and signed a letter to Chuck Schumer that said he would vote in favor of the recon if the price tag was $1.5 trillion. At the same time, and this is what's new tonight, you're seeing in better detail tonight, at the same time, the president was having Bernie Sanders, the budget chairman of the Senate, progress through a proposal of the recon. What would it look like? It was $7 trillion. It was $7 trillion with programs running for 10 years. Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema, and many of the others said, no, we're not doing 7-year, 10-year programs. Why 10-year programs? 10 years to build back America. No. You build it back in 1 year. You don't take 10 years to do it. So they brought it from $7 trillion to $3.5 trillion, with the programs running for 5 years. Still too high. And then they brought it down to 1.9, representing that most of those provisions in there were 1-year provisions. Now, as a news reporter, you know I focus on the wording, and you focus on the words a lot. And at the time, I told you the provisions were 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, but I was deeply confused why the White House kept on saying life-changing, generational. Generational is not 1 year, it's not 12 months. Why is the White House using the expressions? In writing, the White House saying, this is very important from what's coming up in just a second. During those scope of negotiations, there were issues that need to be resolved. Among the issues that need to be resolved were things like the Medicaid gap fix. 12 states had not provided insurance to low-income uninsured people in those states. And Joe Manchin said, I'm in West Virginia. I don't want to pick up the cost to do it in Texas. Texas should pay their own path. So there was a lot of solutions being done. And Raphael Warnock came in with a solution on that one, getting the Republican states to offer a workaround plan. So that was then. Separated the two bodies of legislations, and we were told that the two bodies would never have one land on just the White House's desk. The president insisted the two bodies of legislation must land on the same desk at the same time. Otherwise, he wouldn't sign one by itself. Somewhere along the line, the White House got conned, tricked, deceived over and over and over again. Split the recon, deceived. Two bodies of legislation on my desk, deceived. One body of legislation signed his desk, and he signed it. Consistent messaging and then backtracking when making concessions and getting nothing for his concession. It looks like a person going to a poker game and literally just folding on aces every single hand. White House kept on being conned, tricked, not necessarily by Joe Manchin, but someone across the board. What happened? Well, we had those very important weeks of the summer and late fall, the Memorial Day weekend, the Labor Day weekend, where Joe Manchin specifically was invited to the president's mansion in Delaware, met with the president, and let's remind ourselves, in that meeting was dozens of staffers. So there's a lot of witnesses to what happened. The witnesses to those meetings saw Joe Manchin said, this provision, the way you wrote it, you can't do it. It won't work because it doesn't actually provide the money you wish it to send out. And the president actually turned to the staffer and says, who wrote this junk? The president actually said that. And so there's something wrong with the staffers, not the president, but the staffers who had written the junk that needed to be fixed. Now, we learned today, and we had heard then as well, but we heard emphatically in writing today from the press secretary, and this is new tonight, that during those meetings in Delaware, in the late summer, early fall, Joe Manchin specifically agreed to 1, the recon prize, 2, the programs in the recon, 3, to do a recon. What was he agreeing to? 1.7, 1.9, the provisions across the board. He agreed to it. What we also call framework, agreed to it. In the weeks that followed, Joe Manchin said in verbal quotes, I want to do the recon. He actually said it. He said it many times. Now, He also contradicted himself many times. He had that op-ed that he published in a publication said, when looking at this recon, we need to take a pause. A pause? You mean just sort of get to it in 20 years from now? What do you mean a pause? He also said, I think we need to think things through. He also said take paid leave out. They took paid leave out on the House side, then put it back in. Why? At the time I said to you, I'm not quite clear what's going on here. Nancy had paid leave in there, very robust, reduced it because of Joe Manchin, then took it out, then put it back in, robust again. If that sounds sort of like a slap in the face of Joe Manchin, it is. It perhaps backfired. More about that in a second. We had Jalapa at the time meeting with Joe Manchin and saying he agreed to the recon. He agreed to do it. We both agree to it. We both think it's important. We had differences of some provisions, but we can work them through. Okay, so consistent messaging going into September, October. The recon's going to get passed. Joe Manchin wants the recon. He wants to modify some provisions. He wants to modify language, which is what legislators do. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Came that messaging from Chuck Schumer. 3 weeks ago, Chuck Schumer wrote, let me backtrack. Right before the Chuck Schumer letter, there was a series of op-eds published in West Virginia local newspapers by Bernie Sanders going after Joe Manchin. That caused a riff, a major riff. Reportedly, you don't do that, said the White House. Called them both in and said, calm it down. Perhaps the White House should not have calmed it down because that thing seems to be the only thing that seemed to have worked at the time. But Bernie did calm it down. Ultimately, what happened was that a few weeks ago, Chuck Schumer issued a statement, and it was in writing, that the recon will pass by Christmas, if not passed by the Senate by Christmas. And the voting would start this following week, this coming up week right now. They need 3 days to vote. If it's just the Senate, if they have to do the House, it's 4 days. It's a 5-day week. Done it by the end of the week. Pretty easy, huh? Pretty simple. Joe Manchin was asked for a response to that at the time. He said, you know what? I've seen deadlines before. I don't comment on deadlines, and I don't determine when things go for vote. I would have said the same quote. It's true to fact. So what happened? The reaction to the letter was very fellow Democrats going after Joe Manchin. They said, well, this is why you have to call the vote. They said Chuck called the vote at the time. This is 3 weeks ago. Mazie Hirono, Democrats. Hawaii, Chuck called the vote. We had Dick Durbin, Democrat, Illinois, just call the vote. And they kept on referring to Joe Manchin because they said, you know what, you don't know what happens until you call the vote. And guess what? We actually saw an example of this 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago. When what I've said happens with Joe Manchin all throughout this year, happened again. He always says no, and then when you call the vote, he votes in favor of it. It was the debt ceiling limit. He had said all week long he's voting against the debt ceiling limit and voting in favor of an amendment, a Republican amendment, that would block something. It was covered in broadcast media again today. Everyone referred to that because we all remember this. He's going to vote against the debt ceiling limit. It called for a vote. He didn't vote with the Republicans. He voted with the Democrats. He voted in favor of it. There was no Chuck Schumer pulling his arm on this one. This is just Joe Manchin. Bipolar? I don't know. So that was just 2 weeks ago. But Mazie Hirono, Chuck, Bernie Sanders, and all these other senators said, just call the vote on the forced stimulus recon. So that came into this week. This was a bad week for the White House. Let's understand. Everyone understood it was a bad week for the White House. Even the White House knows it was a bad week. Number one, we had meetings with the White House and Joe Manchin on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we now learn. And during those meetings, we now learn tonight, this is brand new tonight, via the press secretary. I told you she's going to come in. She does not play games. She goes in very daggerishly, with like daggers. She said that the president had private meetings again with Joe Manchin Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week, and Joe Manchin again said he's in favor of the recon and will vote in favor of it. That they were trying to solidify some agreement on some provisions, but Joe Manchin still said he's voting in favor of the recon. Let's understand what this is. The recon is this monstrosity of legislation. It's 3,000 pages long. That's $2 trillion. And Joe Manchin saying, I'm going to do it, but you got to fix some provisions. Okay, that's what legislators do. I'll do it, but you got to fix some provisions. Come Wednesday, Leader Schumer's in a bind, and I've never seen this in the history of Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer was waiting for the president to tell him, what am I doing? I'm supposed to send out that letter to my fellow Democrats to say, hey, next week we're voting on Monday, so stay in town. And Chuck tells the president, where's your messaging? I need to know, am I writing a letter or am I not writing a letter? Wednesday, Chuck Schumer is apparently upset with the White House because they have not told him, am I calling the vote on Monday? Starting the vote on Monday. What's the determination? That Wednesday, the president had another meeting with Joe Manchin. It reportedly went backwards. Elizabeth Warren gives us a third-party account. She says that during these negotiations this week, Joe Manchin suddenly said he was not agreeing to provisions he agreed to before. Sound familiar? It is. And then Thursday, the president issues his own written statement. And the own written statement says, we need more time to work on this recon. Now, this was strange because Wednesday night, 24 hours earlier, the president said, when asked about whether the recon's become a law, he says, will become a law by Christmas. And we're voting on next week. Thursday, 24 hours later, he says, I need a couple more weeks to work on this. Why? He doesn't say why. But he names drops Joe Manchin 3 times. The reaction at the time, Thursday, for Joe Manchin, I recorded on camera. I told you, this doesn't look good, folks. Why? I have never seen Joe and Joe at each other like this. The President of the United States name-checking Joe Manchin 3 times his letter. And then Joe Manchin issued his own statement saying, that's what that guy's saying. I have a different opinion of what the conversation was. And it was even tougher words than I just used. Going in response to the leader of your Democratic Party and the President of the United States, yeah, not any deference, really going after each other. You felt the tensions. You felt the tensions. And then tonight, we learn more about what happened this morning. On Mornings LALATE, let me stop before I get to this morning. Thursday night, I went live on air for 2 special reports, the afternoons and the evenings LALATE shows. And we had a lot of opinions of the situations. Our opinions from viewers, which I polled during the live chat, were 1, that we believe that the president was rolling it into next year for his political purposes. Number 2, the president was misunderstanding the significance of not getting this recon done in December. There was a series of quotes that said the president thinks it's fine getting the recon done in January. Tonight, broadcast media said this is political trouble if you don't get this recon done in December. It's very bad news for the president. We also talked about whether you would have separated out the roads and bridges for the recon back in May for Joe Manchin. Viewers said no, I would not have. I would have called the vote. So, what happened this morning? Tonight, for the first time ever on Evenings LA, we know more about what happened on those events of Sunday morning. Sunday morning, 45 minutes before appearing on air, Joe Manchin issues a statement out to certain Democratic leaders saying, hi, I'm going to appear on broadcast media and I'm going to tell them I'm done negotiating on the forced stimulus recon. I'm going to cast a vote, no vote if you call for a vote. They did not hear this at any time from Joe Manchin's mouth all this week or last week or the week before, a no vote when he was a yes vote, and that he was done negotiating when he had been negotiating for 6 months, 7 months, and been negotiating all week long. We had never heard this. No one had ever heard this from Joe Manchin's voice until it came in via this email right before appearing on air. They did not know he was appearing until that message from him. They did not know the messaging of what he was going to deliver, the substance, and they were blindsided by it. This is new tonight. How do we know this? The press secretary. The press secretary, after the Joe Manchin appearance, after the Mornings LALATE show, issued a very detailed statement. The statement basically looks like someone who's keeping track and taking notes in a binder of everything that was going on with Joe Manchin. This day you said this. This day you said that. This day you said this. This day you said that. You consistently said you're voting in favor of the recon. You consistently said, I support the recon. You consistently agreed to the provisions. And yet often you contradicted yourself, but you still kept on saying you're doing the recon. And you said that at no less than 24 hours ago. Surprising? Yes. White House surprised. So what happened Sunday morning? If you missed Mornings LA today, let me tell you what happened. Joe Manchin appears on broadcast media and says, if called for a vote on the recon, the forced stimulus recon, I would vote no. Where did he appear to say this? Fox News. Ouch. If that sounds like really someone going in for the I'm trying not to say certain words on this channel. If it sounds like someone trying to go in for the jugular, oh boy. First, you're about to announce something you've never told anyone. Joe Manchin is about to announce something he's not told anyone during these negotiations. One, that he's done negotiating. Two, he's never told anyone that. Number two, that he's voting against the recon. Never told anyone that. And number three, you're going to announce on Fox News. Number four, you're going to do it with 45 minutes for lead time, so no one is ready to comment. Bernie Sanders, and for the blessing of God, CNN was able to get to Bernie Sanders very quickly and get a quote for him for reaction. Fox ran no reaction, so they had no reaction news ready lined up. And there he goes. Earlier today on Mornings LA, I said that this Monday you're going to see the avalanche of reaction to Joe Manchin's statements. Well, I was wrong. It only took no less than 2 hours. In a digital era where everyone, even on Sunday before Christmas, they were ready to go in for their position. Joe Manchin appeared on Fox News. This was his comments. If I can't go home and explain to the people in West Virginia that I can't vote for it, I can't vote to continue with this piece of legislation. I can't. I tried everything humanly possible. I can't get there. There's a no on this piece of legislation. I tried everything I know to do. He says no 3 times. No, 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 no. How many times have I ran his quotes on this channel where he said yes, 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 yes for the recon that didn't like certain provisions? So this is a guy that's changing as the wind blows. I mean, he's literally changing with the wind blows. Now, let's go to the Bernie Sanders reaction on CNN, which is if Joe Manchin doesn't want to have the courage to do the right thing for the working people of West Virginia, let him vote no in front of the whole world. We've been dealing with Mr. Sanders for month after month. Let him vote no in front of the whole world. All right, so what is new tonight among many, many things? One, the position announced by Joe Manchin on Fox News that he's ending negotiations was nothing anyone was told previously by him until he made that public announcement. So he never told the people he's negotiating with, I'm done negotiating with you. He just appeared on Fox News and says, I'm done negotiating. Wow. The reaction from the White House, he was negotiating in bad faith. Oh boy, the President of the United States saying you're negotiating in bad faith? Yeah. That's like the Queen of England saying, you have really bad breath. I think I should put that on a t-shirt. Joe Manchin says I'm bad faith. Joe Biden says I'm bad faith. The Queen says I have bad breath. Which is worse? Yeah, that's pretty these are people going in, really. I mean, this is more than Nene and Sheree at a Real Housewives reunion. This is real. I mean, and back in the corner, there's Mitch McConnell with a can of popcorn. Just keep it going. I'm just loving this. I'm just loving this show. Keep on going. Second, they're appearing on Fox News to go after the president and his agenda and basically said, I'm killing your agenda. I mean, and you're his family member in the Democratic Party family. I haven't seen anything since like this since Godfather 2. I haven't seen something like this since Godfather 2. You appear on the enemy channel to tell the enemy that you are walking out on your father and not going to run the father's business. And you're walking out on the Salt Lake City casino to go work for the enemy's casino in Atlantic City. That's Godfather 2, isn't it? That's just what it felt like. I can't believe I'm recording this. And here's me on Friday said, everyone's going to talk about the dramatics of the reality TV show of Joe and Joe, and I just don't want to do it. I have to do it now because now that's all it is. It's insane dramatics. It's just someone in the live chat on Mornings LA said it's like the world's, it's like Days of Our Lives on caffeine. It's just, it's more than that. I can't imagine. Now, it's also an insane slap in the face of the President of the United States. I mean, here's a guy who's very bad on the poll ratings, who has Omicron, and now he has inflation. He has basically every problem in the world. I mean, every problem in the world. And what are you going to give him for Christmas? I'm going to appear on Fox News and blow up your agenda. Merry Christmas, Mr. Biden. It just Grinch, the Grinch of West Virginia. Yeah, I mean, he delivered just a. What does the Grinch deliver in Dr. Seuss? I don't know what. Eggs and ham, or is that no? That's the Grinch of West Virginia really destroyed this guy's Christmas, the president's Christmas, and probably the next 3 years of Christmas. And that'll be the end of his 4 years of Christmas in the White House. It just, I can't imagine the dramatics. Now, I didn't know all this on Mornings Out Loud. All I knew was what he said and what Bernie's reaction is, and I knew what had led up to that. And we had detail on this channel because we've been covering this for just a few minutes. Here's what's happening, is that Joe Manchin had said that he's doing the recon. He had said certain provisions he doesn't like, take them out. They were not out. More about that in a second. He had said he doesn't like how many years the programs were running, and they were still running too long. And he was meeting with people. He was making the effort to meet. And to say he's acting in bad faith, I mean, he goes to your darn White House 3 times a week. And what is that bad faith? So, let's talk about the other side, because there is another side to the story. The other side of the story is the Brian Deese group, the White House team. There's a series of events from the White House that don't look good. And I don't mean that they're just messing up and they're choosing strategies wrong. I say there's something wrong here. Number one, Joe Manchin appears on Fox News this morning and says, I'll do this child tax credit for 1 year. I've always said I'll do the child tax credit for 1 year. We have it 1 year now and a third, so I'll do 1 more year. 2 years of it. I'm not doing 20 years of it. Now, if you're watching this video, you're of course saying, of course we're not going to do the CTC for 20 years. Those people getting $3,600 a child, and you're not even sending out a stimulus check to us. We're not doing that for 20 years. You haven't even given us 1 month of a stimulus check, Democrats, in this recon so far. Of course, you would have said the same thing. So what is Joe Manchin talking about? This is where things don't line up with the White House. And guess what? I've been talking about this for a while. The child tax credit is supposed to be 1 more year, $3,600 per child per household, low-income family. And that's it, 1 year. It's a program that would end at the end of 2022. Pretty simple, isn't it? It's very simple to put that in writing. Well, Joe Manchin over the summer said the way some of the schemers, I mean, there's no other way to say it. Some of the schemers in the White House are trying to do is they're trying to use convoluted wording to allow the programs to run indefinitely, not 1 year. Now, you're sitting there and saying, you're sure is not going to give anyone $3,600 for 20 years. You're not giving me a stimulus check. Of course you're saying that. Of course you're saying that. But more importantly, you also don't want to be paying for someone else's $3,600 for 20 years when you're not getting it. It's going to come out of your taxes. It's going to come out of people's taxes. So this is something that you would never agree to. And Joe Manchin would not agree to it either. Now, here's the problem. We knew this in July. I've been making this recording since July. Joe Manchin saw those errors. There's one thing good about Joe Manchin is he will see wording mistakes and number mistakes. He's good on those things. He will catch you on your mistakes. And he said the way you wrote the CTC is going to run 20 years. Fix it. July, August, September. Hello, this is December. Guess what? It's never been fixed. Number one. Number two. There are other provisions in here that reportedly are for 1 year, and they're still indefinite provisions, 20 years. Number two. Number three. Remember that CBO, the Congressional Budget Office report that the moderate Democrats in the House demanded Nancy get in order for them to vote in favor of the recon? Well, they were clearly working like thieves with Joe Manchin because he wanted the report. And this is the only way to get the report. He got the report, and guess what? The Congressional Budget Office report, I'm revealing for the first time today, actually says Joe Manchin's right. These programs are not 1 year. They're going to run 20 years. And so the recon is not a $1.9 trillion recon. It's a $35 trillion recon. So the programs are running longer. They're giving more money to kids, and then the recon is going to cost a lot more money than anyone predicted. And of course, there's no money to pay for this. There's money to pay for 1.9. There's not money to pay for 40 trillion or 50 trillion or 20 trillion. And we've been told this since July, and they're still not fixing it. Joe Manchin appeared during this interview and said there's a lot of stuff he is asked to have fixed that doesn't work and is still not fixed. Someone in this White House is not good at this. I don't know how to say it politely. They're not good at this. They are deliberately trying to play games. Let me use Mitch McConnell's words, because guess what? For the first time ever, you're going to hear me say, I agree with Mitch McConnell. There are gimmicks in this recon. There's word gimmicks. Mitch McConnell today tweeted out that someone has been using wording gimmicks in the recon so they can keep a recon at 20 years, not at 1 year. And guess what? It's all over broadcast media. Broadcast media that never comes here for serious recon today is covering the gimmicks of Joseph Biden and his darn wording games from Brian Deasy on how to write a recon. And guess what they're saying in broadcast media? That they originally wanted a $7 trillion recon. Yeah, what I talked about this, Jeff. $7 trillion recon for 10 years. Actually, 20 years. Then they brought the $3 trillion recon for 10 years. Yeah, I told you about that. They reduced it. And then they reduced it to $1.9 trillion for 1 year. Yeah, guess what? And then I said to you, but the language is written so it'll run for 20 years, so it's not a real 1.9. It's really still 7 trillion. That's all over broadcast media today. It makes it look like there's a bunch of tricksters, gimmickers in the White House playing games with wording. No bueno. No bueno. I mean, this, So you're having problems with Joe Manchin. You're trying to play those games with a guy that's going to catch your games. Maybe you pull the games, play those games with a llama or an alpaca that won't catch it. But Joe Manchin's going to catch it. He catches your games and he says, "No, I'm not on board with your games," and tells you to fix it, and you don't fix it. And months go on and they still don't fix it. So tonight, the messaging is getting more robust. Where is the messaging in total? Oh boy, I haven't even taken a commercial break. Where is the messaging tonight? The messaging tonight is that Joe Manchin had agreed to do a recon around 1.7, 1.9. Had agreed to it all this week, had agreed to it all this year, had agreed to most of the provisions. Some of the provisions needed working on, and some of the provisions needed fixing on, and he agreed to the provisions for 1 year, not 20 years. But that the White House was still not fixing the provisions, and that Joe Manchin, after meeting with the White House all those week and clearly negotiating, suddenly wakes up Sunday morning and says, "I'm done negotiating." And by the way, I'm going to tell your evil empire opposing network the news, and I'm giving you a 45-minute lead-in, and enjoy trying to be reelected. Yeah, that is... Okay, so here comes my commentary. Something went south bad between Joe and Joe this week that we won't know. Unless someone tells us. This is something a little bit more than, I don't like paid leave, take paid leave out. This is more than, I don't like the CTC for 20 years to make it to, I don't know what. This is a little bit more, someone got really upset about this and it became personal, and it became a personal vendetta between two groups. Joe Biden's group and the Joe Manchin group, and it became a vendetta, and it did not. Level heads did not prevail. They went after each other. So, and the messaging tonight on CNN, on Democratic channels, is that the president has given you Omicron. Well, has in his term you have gotten under President Biden Omicron, inflation, and no forced stimulus recon. How you do it? Yeah. So not a good messaging for him. And he also has his Senate Democrats going after him on Fox News. Oh, yeah. Not a good look. Not a good look. Now, where are we? Where are you? Where is this going forward? Earlier this morning on Mornings LA, I told you that I was going to do this type of recording just today, Sunday, and that's it. You'll see it on Encore, of course, but that is it. I did it on mornings, I did it on afternoons, I did it on evenings. Coming tomorrow, we're back to how we were. What's in the fourth stimulus recon? When is the vote happening? And what is in third stimulus? Get me as much money from third stimulus and any other money you can give me from third stimulus. And that's where this channel is with that subject matter going forward. There's new shows coming to this channel as well. It was important for me on Wednesday and Thursday to go in with a special report live on air because of the announcement of the president. And it was important for me with 3 real special reports. I mean, the morning show today was 1 hour long. I mean, that's insane. 1 hour long. And this show's running long as well. It was a 1 hour show to tell you what was going with this recon because it's so overwhelmingly dense with information. In fact, I told you earlier this week, do not miss a single show or a single day on this channel because you check out for a day and come back, you're going to not know what the world has happened. And guess what? We were laughing about this on Mornings LA today. I said, anyone who missed Sunday shows on this channel, you come back on Monday and say, so they started the voting. I thought they're supposed to start the voting the week of Christmas. And the checks are going to go out right after that. Is that what they said? Oh, you missed everything that happened in the last 7 days. Yes, we sold Antarctica to Iceland. Did you miss that? Did you miss Bobby Ewing came back alive? Yeah, that was just a surprise. It just happened, I don't know how I sensed it was going to be something like this, but I did. Now, how about the external things? I need to go over these external things with you right now. This is very important. You're going to see the cray-cray of externalness coming in at full storm right now. First, the Fox News, the Steve Bannon fan base, those people, they are going to say, I told you we're never going to get a fourth stimulus anything. No, you didn't tell me that because you didn't know that Joe Manchin was going to end his negotiations the weekend before Christmas, and say I'm done negotiating. You didn't know that, but those people are going to say that. They're also going to say the recon is dead. See you back in 20 years from now. They're also going to say that because that's what they've always wanted to say. They have wanted to talk about Joe Manchin since February. Oh, Joe Manchin this, Joe Manchin that. Never going to happen, Joe Manchin. Never going to happen, Joe Manchin. Now they can say it and get away with saying it, but even though it's not really solidified in that way at all. So I want you to ignore them. Second, I want you to ignore the donut guy or the donut gal, which are literally the donut guy and the reverse donut guy. So the donut guy is going to show up on Monday, say, "Hey, I was at the beach all weekend long, waved to the check, and so are we getting our check today? I heard you're voting on the week of Christmas, so we got a check today, right? It went out? No, it didn't go out. Well, I don't want to know what happened. Just tell me what day am I getting my check because I need to know Just ignore that guy because that guy is going to show up and it's just going to be you ain't going to be able to explain this. It's just too much to explain. Number 2, ignore anti-donut guy, which is just like, you were never going to get a donut because I was going to steal it and give it to Joe Manchin before you got it. That person's going to be around. Next, there's a series of places out there that don't want to inform you about anything. And I want you to really stay away from them going forward. There's 2 YouTube channels where the hosts absolutely hate Joe Biden. They hate Joe Biden. They'll never say it on air, but they do. They are pure GOP, Steve Bannon fan base people, and they hate Joe Biden, and they always want to deliver negative to the element of false information about Joe Biden and his domestic policy, foreign policies. So really ignore that group as well. And that's why it's important to stay here because what's going forward next. So if you watch the afternoon show and the morning show, and I haven't gotten into it yet, now I am, what happened today helps us. Why? Because it helps call the vote. And for the strangest reason why, I have no idea, broadcast media actually covered my subject today as well. They said that calling the vote would actually help show the American people what is going on better And that's what I've been saying for 3 weeks. Back 3 weeks ago, Mazie Hirono, Dick Durbin, and Bernie Sanders says, just call the vote. Call the vote because you don't know if Joe Manchin really will vote against or in favor. And if he does, then we get clarification. Today, Bernie Sanders said the same thing. And today, now broadcast media is actually talking about the same thing. And in fact, is using my example, which is, well, Joe Manchin said he was going to vote against the debt ceiling limit being raised, and he voted in favor of it just 2 weeks ago. So we're starting to remember this trend line of him saying verbally, interviews, print, internet, no, 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 no. But when he raises his hand, it's a yes. This is why you just have to call the vote. Now, why is calling the vote also helpful? A series of reasons. One, before you call the vote, they have that debate. And that debate is where they stand up as a senator and says, you know what? I've never liked anything Kentucky. Oh, your chicken is great. You don't know what you're talking about. They stand up and argue. It's usually, Bernie going after Josh Hawley. Liz Warren going after Ted Cruz. This time it would be a little different cast of characters. It would be Bernie going after Joe Manchin. And we need to see that video. America needs to see the video. Joe Manchin needs to see the video. It would be on C-SPAN, live. Be on broadcast media, live. Because Americans need to see why. Not just the what, but the why. Joe Manchin is going to have to say why he doesn't like something or all of it. Now remember, he said 1,000 times he wants to do the recon. Today, the latest statement is, I don't want any of the recon. I don't know where this is coming from. It's just so, it's very bipolar-ish, Jekyll and Hyde-ish. You want the recon, then you don't want certain provisions. Now I don't want the whole recon. What's going on here? He got tired of the situation. The White House is too wide. Can you paint pink? There's just too much white in the White House. I'm just tired of seeing all this white. It's just, maybe if it was purple. I just know what's with him. I just don't get it. So calling the vote helps Bernie and Joe and everyone else say, this is what's wrong with this recon. Fix it. And guess what? They fix it. They fix it before they call the vote. Bernie, I told you, I don't want to do the CCC for 20 years. It's not in there for 20 years, Joe. Yeah, it is. I'm from West Virginia. I've seen the provision. The way you write the language, it looks like it's indefinite. Joe, in Vermont. No, we're not in Vermont. We're in D.C. And this looks like it runs forever. Fix it. Then Liz Warren comes in and says, I think we'll fix it. She puts a collar up and she's like, I think we'll fix it. And Chuck's like, you know what? Let's fix it. Let's fix it. In the spirit of New York compromise and Broadway shows being closed, Broadway must go on and the recon must go on. And that's how they do it. Just get these people on the darn floor of the Senate and start doing the action. Stop living in your comfort zone of your house and doing Zoom interviews for broadcast media. Do the vote. Next, they can also amend it by Votorama. Amend it by Votorama. I'm laughing because I always told you Votorama is to add or enhance things. It's not. They would never remove anything from the Votorama. Yeah, I was wrong about that one. Now they sort of may have to remove some stuff from the Votorama, and it may be the most obvious stuff which we've covered on this channel. Now, here is where you have to sort of feel for Joe Manchin. You have to feel for Joe Manchin because there were certain times he told people no to this provision. And they kept on leaving it in there. And I don't know what they're thinking. He's a grown man. He tells you no for 4 months. Do you think a 30-year-old Yale graduate who's barely worked a day in his life can convince this elder senator to change from a no after 4 months? No, it's a no. So take it out. Provision number 1, paid leave. He has told everyone, it must go out. Take it out. What did Nancy do? She took it out. She first reduced it. Then she took it out. Then she put it back in, and then she increased it. If you're Joe Manchin, you would probably be insulted, wouldn't you? Because you're trying to get this done, and you're telling people what you don't like, and they're not hearing you. They're like, Joe, what can we do to get this recon done? Take out the recon. Why? I told you this for 6 months, and Nancy's still putting this in. It sounds like a bad divorce where you sort of tell the ex-wife, why can't we get this divorce finalized and finished? Because you can't decide who gets the Huggies Peachy. But, I already told you this 4 months ago. The Huggies Peachy goes to our daughter. She doesn't want the Huggies Peachy. So that's not a solution. I've told you for 6 months, she does not want the Peachy. So you have to get the Peachy to someone else because she's already told you this. You're not listening to me. I think this is what's happening with Joe Manchin. Not a Peachy, but it's the paid leave. Peachy paid leave. He's told everyone, take it out. They're not taking it out. The clean energy, we have this as a clear example. He told everyone in April, take it out, or he's voting against the recon. They didn't take it out till almost October. So stubborn? Yeah. There's no other way to say it. There's someone in this White House group that is scheming and stubborn. Scheming with numbers, scheming and stubborn with keeping provisions in there. People's like, LA, you run for president. You run for president. The problem is not the president here. It's who he has running that white building. He has people who are playing games of numbers that other people catch in the numbers, and they're still trying to play games with the same numbers that people caught them on the wrong numbers. He has provisions in there that have been told to take out, and they still leaving them in there. And people say, I won't vote if you keep them in there, but take it out. No, let me try to convince you otherwise. No, it's been 6 months. I told, take it out. I'm not doing it unless you take it out. So for Joe Manchin to appear on broadcast media and said, I'm done negotiating, they say you're doing bad faith. I'm sorry, I have to take Joe Manchin's position on this one. You're doing bad faith, Mr. President, because he told you for 6 months, take these provisions out, paid leave, take it out. He already said you can't do that in there, take it out. Something doesn't, it's not registering with this White House. They're not getting the reality check when people say to them, no. Well, no, take it out. Well, no, take it out. I've never seen, I don't think I've ever seen in my adult lifetime a congressional, a political group where people are telling them no and they're not resonating. The no. No is sort of like maybe. No, it's a no. Take it out. And this continues across the board. So that is why calling the vote is helpful. Because guess what? It's going to come back to this president in a bad way to him. He is going to see Joe Manchin say, potentially, if they call the vote on the Senate floor, I told the president, I'm not doing paid leave. Take it out. I already said, I'm not doing 20 years of CTC. Take it down to 1 year. I already said this. People calling me negotiating bad faith. I've already told him, I'm not doing this. Take this out. And broadcast media is going to get the news reporter, the White House correspondent, saying, Mr. President, Joe Manchin said he wouldn't do paid leave, so why is it still in there? Well, because we really need it. Well, Mr. President, don't you want to pass the recon? Well, we're still negotiating. Mr. President, you're doing it for a year. The guy says no. So why aren't you taking it out? There's some point at which it's going to really smack the president in the face where he's not here, or the staff, they're not hearing where things aren't working to fix the things that aren't working. On Afternoons and Mornings LALATE, I said this is great news for you because when we call the vote, then they can see the things that can be fixed. Now, I'm presuming one presumption, which just sort of dawned on me right now. I'm telling viewers, well, they call the vote, they can fix things because they can fix it at Votorama, they can fix it before they call the vote, they can fix what needs to be modified. They can fix it unless the White House says, don't fix it. I can't believe I actually have to say that. But I do, because that's what's going on here. Provisions that aren't fixed, were told to be fixed, are still not fixed. And I can say, well, they can call the phone, then they can fix it. Yeah, they can fix it if the person who fixes it says, I have a pen. But if the person says, no, I threw all the pens away and there's a shortage of pens for the next 20 years. You have a pen. Don't you have a pen? I know you have a pen. No, I don't have a pen, so I'm not fixing it. It just sounds like a sirloin line, doesn't it? It sounds like a very stubborn cow, doesn't it? It sounds like a very stubborn cow who is acting like a cow. Yeah. Suddenly all these shows are coming together at one time, at one things. Because when things become weird, like now, this is where things have become interesting. Is the recon becoming a law? Is the recon becoming law? Of course it is. Is recon becoming law in the first week of January? No. Second week of January? Probably not. Shortly thereafter, I think so. I think so. I like what the press secretary did. Of all the people today, the only person I really like is the press secretary. She went in really specific. You said here, 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 yes, yes, this, yes, this, yes, this. I would have liked Joe Manchin to have done that with the president's issues as well. I'd like Joe Manchin to say, I told you this problem, and you're not fixing the problems. Instead, Joe Manchin has this sort of vague generalities. No. Want to go out for lunch today? No. Well, how about we go to sushi? Crayola Sushi. It's the new owner, Crayola Sushi King. No. Well, how about Italian? He'll change his name tomorrow to Crayola Italian King. No. Let's go out. Have you had dragon meat? It's delicious. Dragon Dude Ranch. No. When do you want to go out for lunch? No. Just you don't eat lunch? No. This is why people who don't communicate well, you don't understand what's going on. Joe Manchin is saying no. Lots of no's, lots of long no's. And he's giving us details on the things that he wants taken out. And then the White House is like, hi, Mr. President, you were told to take it out. Well, in Delaware, that's sort of a yes. In DC, it's a no. No, in Delaware, it's sort of a maybe heading to a yes. And there you go. Where are we heading on Monday? So on Monday, we won't be making this type of implosion video anymore. We won't be making this implosion video. We'll be going back to the type of videos you saw before the weekend, which is, this is what's in the fourth semester recon. This is what's in the third semester recon. These are the checks. And we're going to go over the path. We'll be seeing quotes where people say, we need to get the votes starting in the first week of January. We need the second votes getting started in the second week of January. We're going to stay back on point and step away from all these dramatics, which had to be covered because otherwise you don't know what's going on. And I had to give you commentary so you understand the magnitude of the situation, which tonight is the following. Joe Manchin ending negotiations and saying if you call the vote on the recon, it's a no today, which is exactly what Joe Manchin has said with every body of legislation in the last 2 years. And when the vote was called, he voted in favor of it. Am I concerned? No. Am I worried? The manner in which he delivered the message? Yeah. If he had published it as like a written piece in the New York Times and it was just, published Sunday, I would have liked that. But go on Fox News with a 45-minute notice to your father of your party and just sort of go in and just say, I'm done with you. I don't want to talk about this ever again. It's not your place as a Democratic senator to say what you're not talking about or are talking about in the Democrat caucus. I don't think he understands his role. He is not the president. He's a senator, and he's not the leader of the Democratic Party. He is a member of the Democratic Party. And he's trying to determine when things are done and how things are done and who does them. No, you will show up at the White House if there's negotiations to be held, and you will sit there and negotiate. You will not say, I'm not doing anything. I'm not talking about your agenda. You're part of the party. And trust me, there's lots of senators who are going to be saying that come Monday morning. And all those details when that happens on this channel. Coming up next is the continuation of our new programming schedule on this show on evenings. We have the new Evenings Countdown coming up right after this at 6 o'clock. Then we have Holiday Stream Stimulus at 7 o'clock. The breakaway, jaw-dropping, new massive hit show, Evenings Extra, at 8 o'clock comes up tonight. It's opposite Calcino and Sirloin. And then we go into our overnight shows as well. And with that, I want you part of the Incredible Family, so subscribe. With 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record, I want you part of the Incredible Family. If I skipped over or left out Student Loan Debt and COLA and Third Stimulus, I'll be catching back on it on the shows coming up right after this tonight. Like this video and consider becoming a member. Get the incredible newsletter Monday through Friday. Join me as that recon heads to the finish line with now the vote going forward, as Bernie says, and the vote to signal what needs to get modified. We'll be following all this nail biter. Yeah, this is now a nail biter. This is now a show you don't want to miss a single day or a single minute across the board. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful evening, and stay with LA for more.